On a lonely space station, far from Earth, a human man knocked on his tenant's door. The rent was due. She was an alien girl, quiet, polite, and always on time. But this time, she only smiled and whispered, "I cannot pay you with credits, human, but I will give you something far greater." The human laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But then, she opened a small glowing box. Light filled the room, and his chest tightened. Inside was no money, no jewels. It was something alive, something that should not exist, and from that moment, he realized asking for rent had just pulled him into a mystery that could change the fate of worlds. The space station moved slowly round a quiet planet. Far away from Earth, life there was simple, but also lonely. People came and went, ships docked and left, but inside the station, one man lived with a problem as old as time itself. Rent was due. He walked down the narrow hallway toward a small room. His steps echoed against the metal floor. He carried no anger, only a small worry on his face. He knew who lived there, an alien girl who had rented the room for the last few months. She was polite, calm, and always paid on time. But this time, he had not seen her for days. He wondered if she had forgotten, or perhaps she had left the station already. The door opened with a soft hiss. She stood there, small and quiet, her eyes shining in the dim light. She was not like other aliens who came through the station. There was something different about her presence. She always carried herself with grace, even in silence. Her skin had a faint glow, almost like starlight hidden beneath the surface. She looked at him and smiled, as if she had been expecting him. "The rent," he said softly, almost apologetic. He didn't like demanding things, but rules were rules. "It's due today." She tilted her head, her smile never leaving her face. There was no fear, no nervousness in her expression. Instead, she spoke in a calm voice, one that carried warmth. "I cannot pay you with credits, human," she said, "but I will give you something far greater." The man blinked, surprised. This was not the answer he expected. Most tenants would beg for more time or make promises they could not keep. But she spoke with certainty, as if her words were enough. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice low. "Rent is rent. It keeps the station running. I don't need anything else." Her eyes softened, as though she pitied him. Then, slowly, she turned back inside her room. For a moment, he thought she was ignoring him. But then she came back, holding something small in her hands. It was a box, simple in shape, yet covered in strange markings that glowed faintly. She placed it gently on the table between them. The air around it seemed to hum, almost like a whisper that no ear could hear. The man stepped closer, curious. "What is this?" he asked, his breath caught halfway. She smiled again, the kind of smile that made time slow down. "This is not money. It is not credit, but it carries value no one can measure. If you accept it, human, you will understand." The man hesitated. He was just an ordinary person, trying to make a living on a quiet station. He did not want mysteries. He did not want complications. But the glow from the box pulled at him, as if calling his name. "I only asked for rent," he whispered, more to himself than to her. "That's all, and I am giving you more than rent," she replied softly. "Much more." Her words carried a weight he did not understand, yet he could not look away. The hum grew louder, and the box seemed to pulse with light. His heart beat faster, not from fear, but from something deeper, curiosity mixed with a strange sense of destiny. He thought about closing the box, walking away, and pretending this never happened. But his hand moved without his permission, resting on the lid. The warmth spread through his fingertips, gentle but powerful. The alien girl watched him closely, her smile faint but certain, as if she already knew what he would do. "What's inside?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. Her answer came like a whisper, almost too soft to hear. "The truth." With that, the lid lifted on its own. A bright light filled the room, soft yet overwhelming, wrapping around both of them. The man gasped, feeling the light reach into him, touching his thoughts, his heart, his very being. It was not pain. It was not fear. It was something else, something he had no word for, and in that moment, he realized that asking for rent had opened a door far greater than he had ever imagined. The girl's smile deepened, but there was also sadness in her eyes. "Now it has chosen you," she said quietly. The man stared at the light, unable to speak. He had come for rent, for something ordinary. But instead he had stepped into something extraordinary. He did not yet know what it meant, or why it had to be him. But deep inside, he understood one thing: his life would never be the same again. The box closed with a gentle sound, the glow fading into silence. The man stood there, his thoughts spinning. The alien girl remained calm, her gaze steady, as though she had been waiting for this very moment. Outside the station, stars continued to burn quietly, unaware of what had just begun inside a small rented room. The room was still filled with a soft glow, even though the strange box had already closed. The human stood in silence, trying to understand what had just happened. He had only asked for something simple, for rent that kept the station alive. But instead he found himself staring at something that felt larger than life. His heart was still beating faster than usual, and his thoughts refused to settle. The alien girl remained calm, almost too calm, as if she had lived this moment many times before. Her eyes followed his every move, and though her face carried a gentle smile, there was also a depth of sadness there, as if she knew more than she could ever say. "You are wondering what it is," she said softly, her voice steady and almost musical. He nodded without speaking. He did not have the right words, only questions that piled one on top of the other. He wanted to ask about the box, about the light, about the strange warmth that had touched him. But instead he whispered the only thing that came to his lips: "Why me?" Her gaze did not move away from him. She stepped closer and placed the box back into his hands. It felt warm, like something alive, not like an object at all. "Because it chose you," she answered. "It does not seek credits or numbers. It sees hearts, and yours is open enough to carry it." The human frowned. He was no hero. He was not a leader, not a warrior, not even someone with power. He was just a man trying to keep his small space alive on a lonely station. He had no destiny, no higher calling. Yet the way she spoke, it sounded as if the universe had just marked him for something far greater. He placed the box back down, almost afraid to hold it too long. "I didn't want this," he said quietly. "I just wanted rent. Nothing more." Her smile softened. "And I just wanted a place to rest." Yet here we are. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. The hum of the station's engines filled the air, steady and endless. Then, slowly, she lowered herself into the chair by the table, her eyes turning distant, as though memories had returned to her. "My people once lived among the stars without fear," she began. "We carried knowledge, history, and memory within crystals like this one. They were not money, not power. They were our stories, our souls." Her hand touched the markings on the box, and for a moment they glowed again, faintly. "But when others learned what these crystals could hold, they tried to take them. Piece by piece, my people vanished, hiding what remained. I am one of the last." The man listened carefully. Her words carried a weight that pressed on the room, yet her voice remained calm, almost gentle. He wanted to ask who these others were, but something in her eyes told him not to. He realized it was not the right time. She looked back at him and smiled, though her smile was softer now, almost fragile. "This box carries more than memory. It carries choice. It chose you because you asked for something ordinary. And the crystal has always trusted those who do not seek power." The man ran his hand through his hair, confused and overwhelmed. He was just a station worker, a man with simple needs. Yet now he was holding a piece of history, maybe even more than that. "What happens if I refuse it?" he asked. Her expression grew serious. She leaned forward, her eyes never leaving his. "You cannot refuse it now. Once it touched you, it became part of you. You may leave the box on the table, but it will still remain inside you. It is no longer about rent, human. It is about what comes next." Her words made his stomach tighten. He wanted to step back, to return to the life he knew. But deep down he understood that door had already closed. The girl reached into her cloak and pulled out a small pendant. She placed it in his hand. Unlike the box, it carried no glow, only a simple design, smooth and cool to the touch. "This will help you when the time comes," she said. "When what time comes?" he asked quickly. Her eyes lowered and her voice fell to a whisper. "When they arrive." The man froze. He didn't need to ask who they were. The way she said it, the shadow in her tone, told him enough. Someone was searching. Someone was coming. And now, because of the box, they would not just be looking for her. They would be looking for him too. He stepped toward the window, staring out at the stars. They were calm, distant, and eternal, yet he felt a strange shift inside himself, as if the stars were no longer far away. They were closer now, part of a story he had never meant to join. The alien girl rose from the chair and stood beside him. For the first time, her smile faded, replaced by something he had not seen before: trust. She looked at him not as a tenant looks at a landlord, but as someone who had given her hope when she had none. "You may think this began with rent," she said quietly, "but what I have given you is beyond any payment. It is a bond, and bonds cannot be broken." Her words lingered in the air, leaving him with more questions than answers. And then, as if the station itself wanted to add to her warning, the lights flickered for a brief second. The hum of the engines shifted, only slightly, but enough to make his chest tighten. He turned back to her quickly. Her eyes told him everything he feared. This was not just his imagination. The ordinary station, the ordinary life, the ordinary rental of it had changed. Something was coming, something that would not wait. And for the first time, he wondered if he had the strength to face it. The station seemed quieter than usual, though nothing had truly changed. The same lights glowed along the corridors, the same engines hummed in the distance, and yet the human felt as if the air itself had shifted. His thoughts were no longer simple. They spun in circles, pulled again and again toward the strange box that now sat in his quarters. He tried to go about his work as if nothing had happened. He checked the station systems, logged the cargo arrivals, and answered the routine calls. But every time he looked at the clock, he found himself counting not hours, but moments. It was as if his life had been split into two parts, before he touched the box and after. The alien girl stayed mostly in her room, quiet and watchful. She was not avoiding him, but he could sense that she was giving him space to think. Still, he often caught her eyes following him, as though she already knew what his decision would be, even before he did. That night, when the station lights dimmed for the artificial evening, he finally returned to her door. He knocked once, gently, and she opened it almost instantly, as if she had been waiting. The glow of the box lit the small room faintly, like a hidden star. "I don't understand what it wants from me," he admitted, stepping inside. "I don't understand why it chose me." She nodded slowly, folding her hands. "You do not need to understand it all at once. It is not knowledge given in a single breath. It is revealed, piece by piece." Her calm voice unsettled him, because he felt no calm inside himself. He sat down across from her, his hands resting on the table. "I saw something when it opened," he said. "Not just light. It was like voices, like memories that weren't mine." Her eyes softened. "Yes, that is what it carries. The memory of a people who are almost gone. When you touched it, it showed you what they once were. It let you see the past." He looked down at his hands, still remembering the warmth that had seeped into him. "Why show me? Why not you?" Her answer was quiet, almost like a confession. "Because it does not answer to me. It does not trust those of my kind anymore. It trusts what is different. It trusts you." The words sank deep, leaving him speechless. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was mistaken, that he was no one special. But inside he knew he could not deny the truth. He had felt it the moment the light touched him. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "The voices you heard, they were warnings. They show what was lost, but also what is still hidden. There are secrets inside that crystal, secrets that others would tear apart entire worlds to possess. That is why I hid here. That is why I could not pay you with credits. Because credits cannot keep it safe." Her eyes glimmered, not with fear, but with a heavy sadness. He swallowed hard, his chest tight. "And now that I have touched it, they'll be looking for me too, won't they?" She gave the faintest nod. "Yes, the moment it connected with you, the bond was sealed. You are no longer invisible. If they were near, they would already feel it. It is only a matter of time." The man stood and walked toward the small window. The stars outside looked the same, as they always had, scattered across the endless dark. Yet now they seemed different, watchful, heavy, like eyes waiting for his next move. He thought about all the years he had lived quietly, expecting nothing more than another day of routine, another simple cycle on the station. And yet one small knock on a door had changed everything. When he turned back to her, he found her still watching him, her face calm, her smile faint but unshaken. "You are afraid," she said gently. "Wouldn't you be?" He replied, his voice low. "I was," she admitted, "until I saw you touch it, until I saw the light accept you. Now I feel something else." "What?" he asked. "Hope," she whispered. The word struck him harder than he expected. He did not know if he wanted the weight of hope placed on his shoulders, yet her eyes told him there was no escaping it. He sat down again, his voice softer now. "If this is as dangerous as you say, then why give it to me at all?" "Because hiding was never enough," she answered. "Because one day, someone had to carry it forward, and the crystal chose you." Her words left the room heavy with silence. He stared at the box, its markings faintly glowing, pulsing in rhythm with something deep inside him. He could almost hear the whispers again, calling, waiting, before he could speak again. The station lights flickered once more. This time they stayed dim for several long seconds before returning to normal. He felt the hum of the engines change again, a subtle shift that no ordinary visitor would notice, but he did. He had lived here too long not to. He glanced at her quickly. She was already watching the ceiling, her expression calm but certain. "They are coming closer," she said softly. The man felt a chill run down his spine. He did not want to believe her, but everything inside him told him she was right. Something unseen was drawing near. And in that moment, he knew the ordinary life he had once known was slipping away. What waited for him was not simple, not safe, but something larger than himself, something he could no longer step away from. The box pulsed again, as if agreeing, and for the first time, the man realized that rent was never the true price. The true cost was the choice he would soon have to make. The human could not sleep that night. His mind kept circling back to the alien woman's words and the strange glow that seemed to surround her whenever she spoke of her people. He had only asked for rent, something ordinary, but what she had given him was something he could not explain: knowledge, warmth, and a feeling he had never known before. The next morning, as the city woke with its usual noise, he noticed something unusual outside his door. A group of neighbors stood quietly, staring at his small home. When he stepped out, they quickly looked away, pretending not to notice him. Yet their whispers followed him down the street. It was as if they already knew something had changed, though they could not say what. Inside, the alien woman was waiting for him, her silver eyes calm but sharp. She told him that the gift she had given him was not just for himself, it was a seed, something that could grow if he let it. But with that gift came risk, because others could sense it too. He laughed nervously, not fully believing her. But when he reached for his morning meal, he felt a warmth in his hands. The small loaf of bread seemed fresher, almost glowing faintly, as if it had been renewed. He dropped it quickly, staring at it in disbelief. She only smiled and said softly, "It begins." That day was unlike any other. Wherever he walked, people looked at him strangely. A sick child who had been sitting on the corner reached out to him, and when the man gently placed his hand on the child's shoulder, the boy's weak breathing grew steady again. Gasps rose from the onlookers, and the human quickly pulled away, unsure of what had just happened. When he returned home, his hands were trembling. The alien woman explained that her people did not measure wealth in credits or gold, but in something much deeper: the ability to give life, to heal, to share energy. That was the gift she had offered him, and now it was flowing through him. But she warned him, if others discovered it too soon, they would not see it as a blessing. They would see it as power, and power always drew attention, the kind that could not be avoided. That night, while the human tried to understand his new reality, a figure in the shadows watched his home from afar. A soft device in the stranger's hand glowed red, recording every sign of the strange energy within. The human had no idea that his life, once simple and small, was now pulling him into something far larger than himself. Would he hide this gift to protect himself, or would he use it and risk everything? The choice seemed impossible, but the decision would come sooner than he expected. The human woke before sunrise, his chest heavy with questions he could not answer. The alien woman was already awake, standing near the window with her gaze fixed far beyond the city. Her expression was calm, yet her eyes carried a weight that made him uneasy. She told him that soon he would no longer be invisible to the world around him. What he carried inside was starting to spread, like light in a dark cave. People would feel it, even without seeing it. He tried to argue, saying he never wanted any of this. He only wanted a normal life, a simple life where he paid his rent, worked his days, and rested at night. But she shook her head gently. "Normal," she whispered, "is already behind you." Later that day, he stepped into the busy market. The streets buzzed with noise, yet wherever he walked, people seemed to pause. Some greeted him with smiles that came too quickly, as if they knew him without reason. Others looked uneasy, their eyes narrowing with suspicion. He felt the weight of their stares pressing on him, and it frightened him. He tried to leave quickly, but an old woman called out to him. She was sitting by a stall with her hands trembling, her voice weak. Without thinking, he stepped closer. The moment his hand brushed hers, the trembling stopped. Her breathing steadied, her shoulders relaxed. Gasps filled the air around them, and the crowd began to murmur. Some called it a miracle. Others whispered that it was unnatural. The human pulled back, his heart racing. He hurried home, but the whispers followed him like shadows. When he entered, the alien woman was waiting. Her expression showed no surprise. "It has begun," she said quietly. "The world is waking to what you carry." That night, he couldn't rest. Strange dreams filled his mind, visions of stars, endless oceans of light, and voices calling his name in languages he did not understand. Each time he awoke, the alien woman was there, watching with a calm patience that unsettled him. But beyond the quiet of his home, something else was moving. In a tall glass tower at the edge of the city, a group of officials sat in silence, watching recordings of him from hidden devices. They replayed the scene at the market again and again, their eyes sharp with interest. To them, this was no ordinary man. He was a resource, a secret too powerful to ignore. Back in his small room, the human looked at his own hands, wondering if they even belonged to him anymore. He had asked for rent to be paid, something small, something ordinary. And yet, what he had received instead was a gift, or perhaps a burden, that would pull him far beyond the life he thought he knew. The alien woman placed her hand on his shoulder. Her voice was soft, but her words carried weight. "Soon, you will have to choose. Will you hide, or will you step into the light? Either way, they are coming." And in the distance, as the city lights flickered against the night sky, the first signs of that truth were already approaching. The night sky above the city shimmered with strange lights, like stars moving against their own pattern. The human stood at the window, his heart heavy, knowing this was the final moment he had been running from. The alien woman was beside him, calm yet serious, as though she had known all along that this hour would arrive. The whispers about him had spread far and wide. Some people now believed he was a sign of hope, a living answer to prayers they could not speak. Others feared him, claiming he carried something that did not belong in human hands. And now, those who sat in towers of power had decided they would not let him walk free. As the city quieted, he felt the pressure in his chest again, the same light he had tried to hide. But now it was stronger, like it was calling out to something beyond the walls, beyond the planet itself. He asked the alien woman if this was what she meant when she had said his life would never be normal again. She only gave a small smile and told him, "Normal was never written for you. You were chosen by what you carry." Soon, there was a knock at the door. It was not one man this time, but many voices outside, asking him to step out. Some spoke with kindness, others with authority, but all wanted the same thing, him. He looked at the alien woman, unsure if he should go. She touched his arm and whispered that the choice was his. When he stepped outside, the air felt heavier, almost electric. A crowd had gathered, faces lit with torches and lights, all eyes fixed on him. Some knelt as though in reverence, others pointed with suspicion. He did not speak. Instead, the glow from within him grew, spreading across his skin like faint silver lines, lighting the ground beneath his feet. Gasps filled the air, and silence fell. For a moment, even the night itself seemed to pause. In that silence, he realized something. The gift inside him was not about wealth, not about power, not even about rent or debt. It was about connection, about healing, about bringing balance to those who had forgotten what it meant to trust. The alien woman stepped forward, her voice steady. She told the crowd that what they saw was not meant to be owned or controlled. It was meant to remind them of what they had lost: the ability to see beyond themselves, to reach for something greater. Slowly, the fear in the crowd softened. The murmurs turned into quiet awe. For the first time, the human did not feel like he was standing alone. He felt part of something larger, something woven into the stars themselves. He turned to the alien woman, his voice low but certain. "So this is what you meant by something far greater than credits?" She nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes, this is worth more than any coin, any rent, any bargain." And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the human understood his story was only beginning. The world had changed the moment he asked for rent, but what he had received instead was a destiny that would echo far beyond his own life.